Hi, friends, and welcome to today's episode of the Stories of Faith and Grace podcast. I'm super excited that you've joined us here today. This is the podcast where we share conversations that strengthen our faith and remind us that God has a purpose for every part of our lives. Today, we're diving into a topic that's at the very heart of Christian living. My guest is Onyinye, someone who is a very close and dear friend to me, and she inspires me. I'm not sure she knows that part yet, except now. Together, we'll explore what it means to live a life of service and the surprising blessings that come when we give of ourselves, friends. I believe that this conversation will not only inspire you, but also encourage you to see fresh opportunities to love, to serve those around you. Now, this is Onyinye, and welcome to SFG podcast, Onyinye. Could
Thanks,
you please introduce yourself? Tell us, who is Onyinye?
Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you so much for having me. Okay, so Onyinye, at the heart of who Onyinye is someone who truly believes in people and in the power of community. And that drives everything that I have done, my convictions, the way I live my life, and the way I think that we all should also live our lives. I'm a social justice practitioner. By that, I mean what you could call social worker, human rights in that field. But I have always thought that my calling is to stand in a gap and to create opportunities wherever I see them, using my time, knowledge, skill to serve and uplift others.
Amazing. Thank you so much. A social justice practitioner. Now, Onyinye, how would you briefly describe your faith journey?
For me, I would say my faith journey has been one of learning
Okay.
to trust God
Okay.
fully, step by step. It hasn't been straightforward. I don't have a clear description of that journey. There's been seasons of doubts, strong doubts, and seasons of great joy. But one thing I know is that through it all, God has been guiding me, sometimes slow, but slow and steady. And that reminds me that He equips us for everything He has called us to be, and also in the areas of our lives where His light shines brighter. So yeah, that's been my journey. It's been interesting.
Amazing. Thank you. So, in practice, I'm just wondering, how do you express your faith in serving others?
Okay. I think that as a Christian or a believer in God, right, expressing my faith means showing up
Okay.
with so much compassion and showing up with integrity. Integrity towards the things that I feel God has led in my heart to do. Integrity in the areas that I feel I have something to offer. That means in my work, in the communities that I find myself, in my relationship. So faith for me is not just a Sunday thing. It's how I treat people when I find them in the market and on Mondays in the workplace. Yeah, it's also about being intentional to listen, to encourage, and to use my skills in ways that reflect how I understand God's love. Because I feel like we have different ways of, expressing and understanding His love.
Speaking about that, what do you think about those skills or those gifts and those opportunities that you've been given? And how do you see that in relation to other people?
So I see those skills and opportunities as tools, right? They are gifts that God has given me and given us in trust. That's how I see it. I see it as tools that are not just mine. So I don't have to hold them tightly as though they are my personal trophies. Hold them as tools of service, right? Something to share. Because my understanding of skills, gifts, opportunities that God gives us is that they are not for ourselves alone. So whether you're in leadership or you're in teaching capacity or even like a social justice practitioner that I am, I meet a lot of people in the field who are social entrepreneurs trying to do a lot of things to shape society. So I think that every opportunity that I have is a tool to help them also advance. So as I grow in my own career, I also see that as an opportunity to support people in many ways and in small ways that I can. And that means that everything I have should flow outward. So I receive them inward from God, either by way of work opportunities, scholarships, conferences, books that I have read, gifts that I get. But then there's an
Okay.
outward flow to help other people also rise and thrive.
It makes sense that you see it as something that you should give back to the community. And so I'm just wondering, was there a moment in your life when you realized that service to others wasn't just something you do, but a part of who you are?
Okay, just to go back a little in history, my own
Okay.
history, I think that I became a person of service without knowing it, right? It's
Okay.
something that even from childhood, I just saw myself always wanting to look out for people around me, especially people that I feel are maybe younger and may need some kind of support. So in the neighborhood where I grew up, early in uni and even secondary schools, I would gather younger people and teach them anything that I learn. I feel like I have to share with other people. And I remember back in those days, I would take our neighbors' kids to the zoo just to show
Mhm.
them, animals. And then we go to the motherless babies on Sundays. I
Okay.
would save up if my parents would give me some money to buy stuff. I would use them to buy biscuits, sweets, chewing gum, and then we would go to the hospitals in the neighborhood. Those days, the society was simpler. It was less complicated. And so we could trek to the hospitals, go pray for people. I didn't know what that meant, but it gave me great
Mm.
joy to carry other young people along. So that's how my journey to service began.
Yes, as a follow on, what does it mean for you to see everything that God gives as something to share? Because I imagine that it could be difficult, hard. Maybe you'll be wondering, why do I always have to be the one to give? When do I have to receive?
Well, I don't know if it means everything that God
Okay.
gives, because I would not say that I give everything. But I think that some things that we have been given, something like knowledge and skill, you cannot quantify how much of it that you have. Yet, there are people who don't even have access to that at all, right? And so for me, it's just living with open hands. I would also say that because I believe in flowing outward, sometimes I don't know where to draw the line. I don't know where the limits should be,
Mm.
right? So I think that we should do everything we do with some moderation. But I feel that we should be intentional about making sure that the things that God has given us, that we share to the extent that is beneficial to the next person. But there's a caveat though. What I see a lot of people do when we talk about sharing and giving is that they pour out completely. And
Mm.
I have come to learn over the years that in pouring into others, you also have to be conscious and mindful that you don't burn out in that process. And so it's important to say to yourself, what can I give that doesn't completely deplete me? Because the flip side of always thinking about other people is that you can start to feel thirsty yourself,
Mm.
feel dried out, and feel as if you've been scammed, right?
Oh, I see.
Because it looks like you empty yourself out and then you feel you're left with nothing. So what
Mm.
I have learned over the years is to say, give in moderation.
Mm.
Give that which you can afford to give without feeling like, oh, they've
You're
scammed
under
you or
pressure.
something. You're under pressure. And again, it's not a showmanship type of giving. You're not giving
Oh,
to
yeah.
please anybody
Mm-hmm.
or to
Mm-hmm.
act like a
Mm-hmm.
more charity or
Yeah.
something. You're giving because you feel that you have something sufficient to share. And it should come from a place of compassion, not a place of competition, right?
Mm.
And it should come with ease. Yes, it's sacrificial to give, but it shouldn't be something that you would have to kill yourself to do. If you look inward and say to yourself, what is it that I have so much so that I can share from a place of love, a place of compassion and a place of kindness without expectation. Again, I want to dwell a bit on this point because also when people share their giftings, their opportunities with other people, we tend to think that when we give it out, there's a sure reward coming from the same people that we have shared with. I've come to learn that that comes with a lot of disappointment. So it's important to know that you're not giving because you're hoping that they will recognize that you've given them and maybe pay you back in some sort of way. No, it's just because you have received from God and you can also bless other people with that.
Okay. So moving away from that, I know that you have invested in mentoring young people, which I believe is also a form of service. So what's one story or maybe a moment from a journey that really stays with you that you keep remembering and you're like, oh God, I'm glad I did this?
I know that I try to influence people in the small ways that I feel that I can, right? And what comes to my mind is how I see people in my social entrepreneur space trying to create an idea and they are struggling with it, right? And for some reasons, God brings them my way. And because I have tried to do some social justice work and failed at it, at some point, I learned that the journey would require a certain type of rigor. So when I see people who are coming up and doing great job, but doesn't know how to quite reshape what they are doing, I tend to want to help. So there are a few instances where people are struggling with getting resources, conceptualizing their ideas, bringing it to life. And I have helped. In those cases, I would pour in, I can speak endlessly. The joy that I receive from it is when I see those project ideas come to life. I know that there are a few standing programs that I see. I see them online, I see them on Instagram, flourishing and thriving. And I'm like, oh God, thank you for making me a contributor to this dream. Sometimes they don't remember the journey or some don't give credit. They don't even, but in those moments when I see them thriving, I'm like, God, thank you that at least I had something to offer in shaping this particular work.
Okay. And has there been a time when living a life of service came back as a blessing, maybe in an unexpected way or just some way you didn't imagine it would happen?
One thing that has kept me in this journey of wanting to support and give, and why I am also happy that we are discussing it as a topic, is that I have seen the reward for it. I have seen doors open for me. In places where nobody I know would have taken me to. I have seen opportunities knock at my door just because I helped somebody in my distant past. And at a very critical point when I really need something, the door will open in such a way that it is linked to that service that I delivered to somebody some time ago. I've gotten jobs in places where I went to look for resources to support other people. And then in going to say, oh, please, are there opportunities here to resource this type of work? And then they say, oh, we don't have this specific opportunity, but there are others like this. And then it will be exactly what I have been praying to God to show me or to open a door or to create a path for me. So without sounding, too important, I know that God, in many ways and in different ways, He's been advancing the cause of my own needs. I will share one example. There was one time that there's a little boy that I know. He had special needs and he wasn't going to school at the time. And you know that resourcing children with special needs is very challenging in the context of Nigeria where we live. And so his parents were struggling to find school fees. And I've been talking with them, praying for them. And so at one point I was applying for a scholarship to go to school in the UK. And I was trusting God for this scholarship. And when I went to pray, I remember specifically his case dropping in my spirit. And I heard this boy is somewhere around your corner. He doesn't have the opportunity at life because even the basic nursery primary school, he doesn't have the resources to go to. And you have done one master's, you're looking for another master's, and you're looking for a fully paid scholarship. How about that boy? And it was a nagging, I don't know how to explain this thing. I was restless. So I said to myself, okay, let me take up the case of the boy and see what I can do to support. So I called a few friends to see if we can provide support for him. Let me tell you the interesting thing that happened. We started a WhatsApp group where friends were saying, oh, we're going to donate XYZ to support the boy. We'll put him in a school. That night, I woke up, I checked my email, I saw my scholarship letter.
No way.
To go to school,
That's
like
amazing.
100% scholarship. I agree they may not have any correlation. It may be coincidence or whatever you call it. But for me, I saw it as a symbolic experience that tells me that every time you think of others, that which you are also looking for will come to you.
Amen. Amen. How do you keep or maintain that mindset to keep going? In all of this, you have goals you've set. You haven't achieved them yet. How do you keep going?
I would not sit to say that I set big goals all the time and I race at it. It's a struggle to keep going. It's a consistent struggle. And when I say it's a struggle, it means that I go from low, extreme low, to picking myself up and saying to myself, no, you cannot stop at this point. And there are two things that come to my mind for which I get up. Every time I remember, and you see, this is also why service to other people helps. If it is for me, there are many times that I will say, Onyinye, rest. What is your own? Just rest. But when I remember that, okay, just because I made this little effort, I was able to bring people out of a difficult situation, right? And when I remember those people, okay, there was one person who was struggling to set up her non-profit organization, doesn't know where to get money from. And just because I showed up at work without quitting, I was able to, either from people that I know, support in small ways. So just thinking about how many more people I offer help if I do better at what I do, it gives me the motivation to continue. Because, there are times that our personal lives don't quite represent the results that we want to see. And I've had many moments of doubt where I'm like, all these things that I've been doing far back in the days, like no result. You know what they say in Nigeria? I get them before, be property. So those moments of no result in the way that human beings will quantify results.
Yes.
I think in my self-doubt, but I remember that again, the second part of my drive comes from the opportunities that you have received. They came from God's unmerited favor. You cannot say that it is because you worked hard that you were gifted with the little opportunities that you have had. So you've been given much, and to whom much is given, much is expected. So I try to count my blessings, not my losses. I count from where I'm coming from to where I am, and I say to myself, you've been given much, and you cannot afford to sit down and wallow in self-pity. So I pick up myself and I say, the journey is still ahead.
Yes.
So we'll continue. And I don't know how many more people I would help just by showing up. And that in itself is energizing for me.
Amazing. So what I hear you say is that the fact that you can even show up, that showing up is what encourages you. That is really enlightening. So how do you spot these opportunities to help or to serve others in your daily life? Because we want to know, how can I spot it? Will I just see everyone that is in need and go ahead to help them? What if that is not who God wants me to help?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good question. So for me, I actually pray deliberately every time when I am thanking God for my day, any small thing that has happened, small or big, opportunities that I've received, interesting things. I will be like, God, please open my eyes to see who else I can help in any way. Help me to be of service to other people. It's part of my constant prayer. Help me to do more. I pray that prayer because every time someone says, hey, Onyinye, thank you for this that you have done for me. Thank you for that. I would go back to God to say thank you. Again, it comes from me knowing that I have no power, no strength of my own to claim that I can do or I can help. And yes, you're not called to support or to help or to do for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you are intentional and you're looking out to be of help, there are moments where you meet someone who is deeply in need, and you know that this need is not something that you cannot do, right? So I pray to God to say, please help me, show me who needs what I have. So it's not like you are going to buy it or something. You already have it to offer. It could be words of encouragement, pastoral care, like my pastor would tell me. And when I meet
Okay.
somebody that I feel I can help, I don't just jump at it. I also pray. When I am having conversations, I don't categorically say, oh, this is what I'm going to do. No, I would say, well, let's see, because I know that it is still God who makes it possible for you to show up for them in the ways that you can, and help that even the support that you provide morphs into something meaningful in their lives, right? So it is a journey of faith for me. It's not something I do of my own capacity. And to be honest with you, there are days that I'm not in the mood. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not in the mood to talk, to hear, to do anything. And yes, we are human. So those days are okay. They are acceptable. But those moments that people you're called to help come your way, it's good to also pray for sensitivity to not miss it.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, for someone that is listening and they may feel that they don't have much to give, what small steps could they take to start serving others?
So I would say that the first step is acknowledging the talent that God has given you. If you remember the story of the 5 talents, He gave some people more than others, but you remember that some people hid theirs and never multiplied it. And for those people, they received no reward. But those who were able to invest even the little that they were given, more was given to them. So what that means is that we all have gifts and talents, but it comes in different ways and packages. So count your blessings. So say to yourself, what are the things that I am good at? What are the things that I can do well? And what I have also done, and I consistently do, is to send questions to my friends, my family, my colleagues at work to say, tell me 3 things that you think I do well or I'm good at. So from those 3 things, I can say, okay, these are my top dominant skills. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
from there, what can I do with them? It could
Mm.
also be asking your family members, people who know you for a while, what gift they think that you have. They may say, oh, you sing so well. And there's a way that we don't see ourselves, right? So we sort of think in terms of our immediate needs. When we think, oh, what do I have? But I don't have anything. I don't have
Mm.
cars. I don't have this. I don't have a good job. My job is not paying well. But you have life. You may have good health. You may have long hair. You can sew. You are a decorator. So look around you. Who is in need of this thing that I have? And how do I multiply it? I think those are the quick ways to go about it.
Okay, thank you so much for that, friends. That means that in everywhere we find ourselves, we cannot say that we don't have something. We always have something to start with. So now we know that we have something that we can offer. So how can we do it?
Okay, so I think the first step to it is to ask yourself, who can I encourage? Look around you. There's always
Mm,
someone who needs something. A hug, a
mm,
good smile, a how are
mm,
you doing today that
mm,
comes from your heart.
mm.
That your younger sister who is struggling with education, a word of advice, or even doing a little research to say you can find resources here. I know we live in a busy world where we are all engrossed in our own KPIs, deliverables, and all of that. But it would be useful to take a pause every time you remember to say, who can I support today? So with a smile, with a hug, with lunch, good lunch, a dress, like I
Yeah,
love dresses, with
yeah.
anything at all. Share this inspiring movie that you watched that encouraged you.
Mm-hmm,
You find an
mm-hmm,
article, scholarship opportunity, job opportunity, share with
mm-hmm.
someone who needs it. It's as little as that. So when we say count your blessings or look at your talents, we tend to think of big things. No, the small
Mm.
things of life. I drank this juice, it was good for my digestive system. Who
Yeah,
around you is struggling with it? And you could just share that information. And yes, it is knowledge, it is something that you also have. So when
you're
I say
sharing.
make a list, yes, and you can share.
Finally, looking back, what has a life of service given back to you personally? And if you could sum it up, what would it be?
It gives me joy. It keeps me happy.
Okay.
Makes me
Thank you.
deeply connected with people.
Mm.
It has expanded my world and
Mm.
deepened my faith in God.
Wow. That is the center of it all, getting to know more about God, getting connected with Him, and just enjoying life through the joy and the peace that He gives you in helping and supporting others. Thank you so much. I want to read the scripture in 1 Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Onyinye, thank you so much. This was such a huge opportunity and a rich conversation, I must say. A true and honest reminder that service is not just an action. I hope that you're walking away, friends, with a renewed encouragement to use your gifts, no matter how small they may seem, to make a difference in someone's life, at work, in school, anywhere that you find yourself. As Onyinye has shared, faith becomes more alive when it moves beyond ourselves and in the lives of others. Thank you so much, Onyinye, and thank you for tuning into Stories of Faith and Grace. If this episode blessed you, please share it with a friend. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. Until next time, friends, may your service reflect the love and grace of Jesus Christ in all that you do. Stay blessed and have a lovely week ahead. Bye.